welcome to our next segment of Seniorities. I'm J.D. Miller, Chairman of the Board on the Council on Aging. To my left, to your right, Executive Director of the Council of Age, our Senior Center, Linda Hayes.
Mm-hmm. Hi, everybody. Nice to be back. Glad to have you here, JD. Thank you. Thanks for helping us continue to offer this program to our seniors in the community watching SCTV. We hope to be able to provide you here monthly at least with some updates and information coming out of the Senior Center that we think would be useful for you to hear. So let us know if there's any subjects you'd like us to talk about in the future.
Absolutely. You can always call in with an idea or something to highlight, and we can maybe...
Not to say we're short of material, but we would always love to hear what you think would be useful for you to know. We have recently taped a talk that was held, a presentation at the Senior Center regarding the Medicare re-enrollment, and I think that was useful. So we can do more of that for things that we think would be useful for those who can't make it to the Senior Center, because of course we'd rather have you come, but especially as we enter the winter season, if we do have things that are of interest, then we would love to have cable provide videotape for you at home.
And since you mentioned it, that process is still ongoing, the Medicare sign-up.
Through December 7th, I believe,
so
is the
still
re-enrollment
another couple
period.
weeks, by all means.
We do have Norman as our Shine volunteer here twice a week, it seems. At least once a week, occasionally maybe twice during this period. He's not always doing one-on-ones, because it does depend on what the questions are regarding Medicare and in terms of the re-enrollment. There's a process that he can perform on his own for you if the forms are filled out, so that is something you can call about or call the Senior Center about, and we can help facilitate the process anyway. So thanks for bringing that up.
And also the sort of the drug screening
prescription Part D
to determine if you're getting what you should be getting at the proper price.
Right.
That can all happen down at the Senior Center. So.
Yes, thank you. So it was a little busy last week, I guess, between cafe talks.
What you been doing? Give us an update. What you been doing?
Well, Friday morning was very nice. I went to a legislative breakfast, which was held at the Marshfield Senior Center, which was nice to be at, in their multi-purpose room, with one of the most impressive things about their hosting this event were the number of volunteers they had in the kitchen and setting up, and then post breakfast cleaning up and resetting for lunch. It was just, as you know, I have had experience at another senior center with a daily luncheon, and certainly with the use of volunteers, and we were always indebted to them. But this was amazing.
They have a very I've been down there multiple times. They have a very dedicated
volunteer base. It was wonderful. They took care of really everything, and that was nice. The legislative breakfast, however, it's an opportunity that we as senior centers try to get at least annually with our legislators. And this time, nicely, we made it regional, so that it was the local Senior Center Council on Aging communities, along with the respective state representatives and state senators.
Southeastern Mass?
Basically from Plymouth to Scituate.
Okay.
We were the most north: Pembroke, Duxbury, Marshfield, Plymouth and Kingston.
Yep.
I don't think I forgot anybody there. So we had Patrick O'Connor,
who was our
state senator,
representative,
state senator now, post Bob Headland, and then Jim Cantwell as our state representative, as well as the other state reps who are responsible for the other bordering communities. Jim has Scituate and Marshfield, so it's a big role. But we also had David Stevens, who is our executive director of the Massachusetts Council on Aging, and he's been in that role for 24 years. He is a tireless advocate for not just the councils on aging, who he represents really, but also for the just seniors and and the issues affecting seniors in the state, and with our legislature in particular. So he was our keynote speaker.
Okay.
And he does try to do this, again, also annually, because he's responsible for the entire state,
yeah.
through this agency, he might pick a different community each year that he comes to. So he has not been to the South Shore before to do this, so that was nice. And I think those in the audience were very pleased to hear him advocate for them, and how the MCOA does that both for us and for seniors in general.
Do you have much contact with MCOA?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes, quite a bit. They do an annual conference for us, professional development conference, but
right. Okay.
every week.
Was that a month or two ago up in
October.
Danvers? Or
Yes.
this year? Okay.
This year it was in Danvers.
Okay.
Other years it's been in Falmouth,
Okay.
or it used to be in Stockbridge
Okay.
often. But that's a fabulous opportunity for COA directors and other staff to just
Yeah, bounce ideas off each other. What's going on? What do we
Great-
see? What do we don't see?
great
Yeah.
presentations
Yeah.
and a variety of development opportunities. But in addition, we get a weekly communication from them, and as he talked about here at this breakfast, they advocate for our formula grant, and our formula grant needs quite often. So our formula grants come from the state through the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. MCOA often is responsible for sort of spearheading our needs for our rates to be increased. And as he explained to those at the breakfast, and for you, I've talked about it before, but it's based right now on the 2010 census.
Right.
And our population has increased dramatically even since then.
Well, and the census population of 2010 of 60 and over?
16 over.
So 60 and over in the town of Scituate, 2010, about
Was
4,300.
4,300.
Yeah.
300.
And it's gone up since then.
And it has gone up quite a bit
Yeah.
since then, but
Yeah.
that doesn't get taken into account.
Yeah.
So instead, they request the legislature to raise the rate per elder that they calculate the money that we receive. So it has gone up steadily since 2007-8, when it was $7 an elder, $8 an elder, $9, and then it was raised to $10 an elder last year, which was great.
Yeah.
This past year, however, and it was delayed a bit because they had to go back and redo the budget.
Yeah.
So we actually got it reduced slightly, which was unfortunate. So it was under $10 an elder. But of course, they're working at raising it to $12 per elder to accommodate the increase in the population.
And is this census is it every 10 years? Mm-hmm. Okay. So
So there will
we're
be
not due
another
for a
one.
renewal of numbers
Right.
until 2020.
And as a result, honestly, they listened to David speak and the legislators there, certainly, as well as Governor Baker, who actually was our keynote speaker at our conference in October. So he also dedicated himself to that need, recognizing that need, and the important role of senior centers. So I believe we will see that, among many other things that they are talking about there. But we receive that money annually to support programs and needs that can't be found in the
Yep.
municipal budget.
Yeah.
Everybody does something a little bit different. The director certainly can determine what is most needed, and currently I am supporting 2 part-time positions through the formula grant, which eats up a lot of it,
Yeah.
but I have used it for newsletter mailing costs, for some equipment costs, certainly for some of our technology equipment, software needs for the staff, as well as our annual maintenance fee, so to speak, for the software that we use. So it does an awful lot for us that we rely on
Yeah.
heavily.
And unfortunately, it also goes quickly.
It does go quickly, and it went really quickly
Yeah.
for this coming year. So this coming year, we are a little more strapped in terms of the extras. In fact, I had used it to support subsidize exercise programs. So certainly, and MCOA does this as well, and offers grant funding additional to the formula grant that they may have received from federal or state funding sources. So indirectly, we then get it because they might provide us with opportunities to apply for certain of that money. And I have used it to start one very popular exercise program, Balance for Life, which, because of false prevention campaign, certainly is something that has become a focus for all senior centers, really, and for the state. But, so we were able to fund it for a short time through this grant, then had to raise it. Then I started using the formula grant to supplement and reduce the cost for the participants, but now I can't this year.
Right.
So we just had to raise it again for the participants and try to make it as affordable for
Yeah.
them to come, not just once a week, but we are now holding this class 3 times a week. But at $5 a class, that may be hard for some
Yeah.
to do, and we would rather they were able to come 3
Right.
times a week if they wanted to.
We don't
So
want the price to turn people away,
Right.
but
Right.
on the other hand, there's a cost to the instructor and things like that
They-
that we need to try and cover.
you know, they're not volunteers.
Right, right,
Some
right.
practically are, but still, we want that to be something that we want to keep these instructors.
Yep.
So that's just an example of where sometimes we get tied up for funding.
Yeah,
And it's not available this year because of using it for staff positions, which again, if I can get those to become part of the municipal budget, all the better, then it frees up more money for more programs. So that's an example at least of what we use that for. David also mentioned just the idea that, 1.6 million older adults in the state, and statewide, right now, there are more adults over 60 than children under 20. Nearing, if not
Okay.
already, a solid 30% of the Commonwealth, 3 out of 10 older adults.
over 60. Okay.
So also that programs that they are working on or with other agencies, supporting an increase in support for elder poverty, which according to a recent economic study that was done both by a faction of the UMass Gerontology Institute as well as representatives from MCOA and others. But it's difficult to retire here in Massachusetts. We are the highest cost of
Cost
living
of
for
living.
older adults after only Mississippi, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
So obviously, we want supports in place to help older adults remain here and live viably, whether it's housing, transportation, food, medical insurance, which obviously they're.
All those things.
So they are a voice in some of the talks regarding healthcare reform, as well as some of the evidence-based programs. For instance, 1 in 3 older adults face one or more commonly chronic conditions. And as a senior center, as councils on aging in general throughout the state, we really do try to offer those programs that are proven to help facilitate better management, better care of oneself, to sort of take the burden off of the medical and insurance costs.
Yep. Yeah, right, sure.
So formula grant dollars help us also to think about and prepare for, the 50-plus population, because
It's coming down the pike. You
it's
bet.
coming, it's here in some cases, making changes now to help ensure better physical and financial health, security, meet some of those challenges. David discussed some of the movements they and we are hoping to be involved in even this year. We've talked about this already, but both the age-friendly initiative and dementia-friendly movements
Right,
to help
right.
communities
Yes.
better understand,
What goes on?
what goes on
Right.
within, some of
How to
the.
be supportive of that, of
Yeah.
that segment of the population, and/or soon a neighbor or a family member or yourself. So,
So that's something we actually would like to be at the forefront of, and they are too. So MCOA would be receiving money from the federal government to help establish more of these programs, and then we can take advantage of that money as well, which we're planning to do this year. So that is good. They also have task forces strategizing better property tax relief programs, many of which we have through our assessor's office and the senior center as well. But, there needs to be more assistance with that. In addition to David, Patrick O'Connor spoke, and certainly as state senator, wants to ensure that older adults are treated with the same attention as other demographics, recognizes the income inequality gap that David had spoken about as well, and tackling the problem. For instance, he did talk about hearing aids, for instance. That's just one of the areas that has not traditionally been well supported through medical insurance, and often is not accessible for many of our seniors.
And we've talked about that in the past. It's isolating to not be able to hear.
Right. So that making hearing aids whether more affordable, more accessible, and just being able to provide better support for that to our seniors overall. So that was great to hear. And then, of course, our own Jim Cantwell, who's very supportive of us, and just talked about support for seniors at the state level, housing options, and always looking toward increasing those and reducing the wait list that often seniors are met with, and even the safety concerns currently maybe in the affordable housing that is available.
In the buildings, because they're old.
They're mixed.
Yeah. I mean, the buildings are old.
The buildings are old, the populations are mixed, It is a little bit difficult. So they are working at that as well in every community, not just ours, even though Scituate seems to have a lot compared with some other communities, still not enough. And also there was even a senior in the audience who spoke about that gap in the middle, so that those who are maybe a little bit more well off, if they're selling larger homes, if they have that opportunity to buy something, they may be reducing the space they're living in, but not necessarily the cost of that space. It's still at a fairly high price tag. And then there's the much more affordable for those with lower income, but right in the middle there, it's very hard to find something for that middle income, or formerly middle income, now on a fixed income, who just really wants an adequate one-bedroom or two-bedroom, single-floor living.
The classic, 3-story or 2-story, 4-bedroom anymore. They've outgrown that with family, but want to stay where they in the community.
Right. And Jim also recognized the role of the senior center. I mean, of course, there's Marshfield, and he is certainly advocating for us in Scituate to have a facility of the same magnitude, really, hopefully, but because we offer so much and want to offer so much more in terms of programs and social opportunities and information and education and social services. Honestly, where would seniors be without this valuable resource so often? So the legislature is dedicated to helping seniors, as well as senior centers be able to provide the programs that we need to provide to seniors. Also, he said there's a focus on Alzheimer's and dementia research, treatment resources, and as we know, he's a big advocate for substance abuse and challenges there, and that it does affect all ages for various reasons. So certainly that is also an area where seniors would get the benefit of his efforts. So that was it.
It sounds like it's a good overview from a macro level of what's going on.
It is.
Really?
It is.
Right? So.
And that is the hope, that we hear from them, they hear from us.
Yeah.
They know us personally. I actually did get Patrick, who has been doing one of the lifelong learning classes that has been available in Duxbury now for years, where the state reps have offered to come in and talk about, the hot topics or issues of the day, we would call it. And I think we have Patrick, who I don't want to put Jim on the hot seat, but they may do that for us as well, because that's a 6-week opportunity for them to really get involved in what's going on in politics, locally and the bigger picture, and having an opportunity to debate. We'd initially started that where there's different sides of the table, maybe the Democratic side and the Republican side, and understanding both sides of those topics. But oftentimes, you have the same interests in the end. So it's just nice to have the inside track on what the legislature is doing to discuss those. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's good. So always good to be there.
So you mentioned also you were going to try and touch on some emergency preparedness in town.
Yes, timely enough as we
Move into cold weather.
too quickly approach
Yeah.
potential storm season. So the senior center role, albeit somewhat small versus what happens, when a storm actually does hit for us. But what do we do for you prior to that? We do maintain a storm wellness list, primarily for maybe frail elders and at risk and those who may not be as able to get to the senior center, where we periodically do have information sessions regarding emergency preparedness. But we use this list to make calls prior when a
Good.
storm is pending.
Yeah.
So that once, and it's wonderful that we have such a great relationship anyway with the fire department and the health department and the police department, so that any information that needs to get to seniors comes from them to us and to you through our either opportunities to make personal calls, which we would do beforehand, or sometimes just a broadcast call to the people that we maintain in our database or on our call list. But we want to be able to pass on.
If someone wants to get on that list, just call the senior center. Right?
Just call.
Okay.
It's an opportunity for us sometimes to update if we don't have emergency contact info, which we would really like to have for anyone in our database. Just someone to call should they either be there and something happens, or should we need to make a call to that other party because we can't get a hold of the other.
Right. Right.
And our fire department also just passes down a timetable for what they think might be the case in a storm. And oftentimes, if we foresee power outages or possible shelter, then what do we need to tell you about that? And what do we need to find out from you if you plan to come or get there? So
So when you say come, would they be coming to?
to a shelter.
Okay.
I wish the senior center could be one, but we do not have a generator. So the shelter,
So
which
if you
is,
lose electricity, you're out too. If the
Yes.
town, yeah, or
Yeah,
that.
we
yeah,
are.
Yeah.
But the shelter is manned, it's organized by the director of our health department for the town, as well as many volunteers. The SANS organization gets involved in shelter.
Yeah.
Our own social services manager, social worker would be on site there. And as I said, many volunteers. Fire department, police department, they're all there. But we would provide reminders, so if it was a high tide risk and there was, a need for some of our seniors to be evacuated, that's something that needs to happen sooner than later.
Yeah.
So people knowing what the timetable is, do they have family where they would go instead, or do they actually have a need for us or for the town to help them with shelter and/or transportation? So the fire department's very willing to help. They may use our vans to do that, but they need time to do that because there's a point at which
Sure.
that's no longer available
Right.
because we don't want to
Once-
put anyone
right.
else at risk.
Right.
So if those that choose to stay, at least maybe they're choosing to say, no, I'm prepared.
Yeah.
So that's good to know.
Yeah, there's a certain point where people can no longer come out to help and pull people out of their homes. It's not safe for them to do that.
It's not safe for them to do that. So that is discussed prior. Shelter notification if we know there will be one, and then what do they need, or what should they consider bringing if they are considering coming or going to the shelter, a checklist. Also, pets are allowed, but again, there's a checklist for bringing your pets. If you're home, then what to have on hand, and again, this has to happen enough time prior to that for you to get that. But 3 days supply of water, food,
Right.
Manual or battery-operated items, obviously, if the power is going out, but that's the general rule of thumb for 3 days. Medications,
right,
oftentimes,
sure.
we can help with that if we have noticed that someone needs something from a pharmacy.
Yeah.
Though we always do also recommend, if you do use North Scituate Pharmacy, they do deliver, again, if there's time. But we do try to help with that. But blankets, the reminders and the checklists are some common sense, but sometimes you need to hear it.
Yeah.
Also, just in the event there might be a need for an emergency visit, We do have something called the File of Life, which hopefully everyone does have, but it is something that you stick on your refrigerator.
Right.
Something the fire department EMTs would see as soon as they come into the house, so
And
they would be able to
that
refer
gives
to
them a
that.
brief summary of your medical condition and/or history, or
Yep.
both. So
So
it's good information for people to
That's
be able
an
to
item.
grab.
We
Yeah.
usually do recommend people at least have that
Yep.
filled out, up
Yeah.
to date.
Yep.
Things change quickly, I know, medication-wise. The SANS organization, which is a volunteer-based sort of post-disaster aid,
Group.
but
yeah.
also pre, and they've been working this past season on a prepare-a-thon, emergency prepare-a-thon through MEMA, I believe, Massachusetts Emergency Management Association, or agency, I should
Okay.
say. But anyway, to encourage families to create an emergency plan together, so whether it would help seniors whose families may be local or may not be local, but at least they would know what to expect or what was planned for their senior family member. Some families living together, at least they know what they would do if they
Had a problem?
weren't
Yeah.
together at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, if people don't want to go to a shelter too, it is recommended they make phone calls to, in what hotels or motels in the area would be able to take
Which
a
probably
reservation.
fill up fast.
And that has happened in
Yeah,
the past, so
yeah.
now, again, much in advance of that, if people think that's the route they want to go, then we might have a list of those that have been talked to.
Yeah.
SANS has done that as well, but prior to events occurring, there's really, you can't have too much information. So that is what we try to do anyway, but through the phone calls. So
That's great.
we had our health fair in October. Fire department was there, police department was there, SANS was there, the health department was there, and they provided information. So if you came to that, you may have received specific information about possible emergency preparedness. But also in January, we'll have a session.
Great. We
with
want to
them
do
coming to the
another
senior
session
center.
with the chief?
And the next time we meet for our seniorities, we will be joined by our fire chief, John Murphy, who can talk about a few of their, they've got actually a couple of new programs that he would talk about. One in particular is something where we have a form now, and it's even online, so a lot of what the chief would talk about actually is on the town website as
Really?
well,
Okay.
under emergency management. So for those who do use the computer and go on to the town website, situatema.gov, there's an emergency preparedness tab or emergency management tab. So a new program or form that helps us know about functional needs assessments for disabled and seniors. And also the red alert, code red alert, which he would talk about, but just a way to get the word out more quickly to people and have them sign on to receive emails or phone calls from them.
Okay.
So we look forward to
So
that.
we'll look forward to that, yeah,
Yeah.
with the chief. Good.
So then I could mention an event we also had last week, Friday. That was wonderful. And it was.
This was an athletic event you're referring to? Yes.
It was an athletic event, and
Good.
honestly, really fun to see. So we have some video about the pickleball event, that intergenerational pickleball event, that was actually initiated by the gym teachers at the high school, and they knew about our senior center pickleball program, where we have up to 30 participants oftentimes playing at Jenkins School Gym twice a week. And so they decided, maybe we could have a game together with their high school students and our senior participants.
This idea was generated as a community event to connect our seniors in town with our high school students. And our seniors currently play pickleball. We're currently in a pickleball unit with our high school students. So we combined them, and the product that we have now is them all here in the small gym playing against and with each other.
Hi, I'm Linda Hayes. I'm director at the Senior Center and actually initiated the program by actually going to another site in Lakeville where seniors were playing pickleball, and they were nice enough to show me how to play. And from there, I was able to get space and put this program together where we generally use Jenkins School. But the high school's been nice too in the summer where we've been able to come in here and use this very gym. So it's become a great program. We may have started with 8 people interested in learning the game, and now they field maybe 30 at a given time when they get together to play.
I've been playing for about 3 years, a little longer than 3 years, and this is wonderful. This intergenerational thing I think is really terrific. I played pickleball basically because I like tennis very much, and I've been playing badminton for 45 years. And I was influenced by a Vietnamese colonel who beat me every single game for 22 months.
Wow.
I didn't get a point.
Wow.
And at 22 months, I was able to get a point, and at 30 months, I was able to skunk him. But he taught me every move, and he would, after each game, he would humbly bow and thank me for playing with him.
So it was really well done, and afterwards the health home economics class provided a healthy snack, which the kids had researched and actually geared the snack that they chose towards something that was useful for older adults as they age, as well as younger individuals who need certain nutrients. And it was wonderful. It was a fruit yogurt parfait, but it was really well done and very nice to mingle with the students. I think our participants really enjoyed and appreciated being part of that. And kudos to the high school teachers for organizing it and inviting us, and we know we will do it again.
Very good.
It was really valuable.
Good.
For everybody.
Good.
All right.
Anything else?
Nope.
That sounds busy.
It's busy.
That sounds busy. Well, so I know we're almost at the end of our segment here, so I'll hop in on a couple of quickie announcements, I think. Maybe just to update people on the town process regarding moving forward on a new building.
Senior center.
And I'm not going to try to go into all the details, knowing that I may not have all the details here, but basically the town hires an individual called an owner's project manager. And the owner's project manager is, it's a paid position. They're considered an employee
Working for
of
the
the town, so they represent the town's interest, but they bring their expertise in terms of building, construction, architecture.
And as we go out to bid to find
Right.
an architect for,
Right, so first we'll
Design.
get the owner's project manager on board, so then we've got a town employee, if you will, quote unquote, who will sort of knows the landscape. And then we'll go out to try to do the same kind of a process, selection process around an architect to move forward on
design.
So the owner's project manager is underway. That process is underway right now, I believe, but I don't have any of the details of timing or anything along those lines. But we've got to get that person in place to then move forward to the next step, and then move forward.
and this is all for selecting, ultimately selecting a site on the Gates property, which hasn't been chosen yet,
Correct.
hasn't been determined yet, even though we know it's part of that campus.
Correct. And I will amend, again, a standalone property, we are not involved in trying to rehab that building for a senior center. We're looking at putting a new footprint down on that campus for a new building.
Yes, we are.
So that's,
Thank you. Okay.
without having a whole lot more detail in terms of timing or anything along those lines, that's my understanding of the process of moving forward, and that has started.
That's where we are.
My guess is timing-wise, it may still be based on holidays coming up and holidays in December and things along those lines. It may not sort of draw to a close until early January, but I really don't know. So,
Sounds,
otherwise, I would just maybe take a moment to make sure I remind people on that down at the Council on Aging, there are available, actually, it would be a phone call, but these are buckets for sand to de-ice your walkway or your steps. You'll see that we have the Scituate Council on Aging on the one side, and it's supported and delivered by the Scituate High School Interact Club. And so what we're doing is putting sand, we get sand in these buckets and deliver them to anybody for free of charge.
We have a list. I
Oh,
think
good.
we had mentioned it maybe in our last segment, so we have a list growing.
Good.
But we still have buckets, and we probably will start the deliveries as we enter December. So
Okay.
we haven't done that yet for those who have called. I guess that's what we'll target, and we will have our students
Great.
doing that, filling them with sand and delivering them to
Right.
senior homes. Again, for your steps, wherever the best access point is, if someone needs to walk
Right,
to their
from
car, or even walk down a walkway to get perhaps to the
the
senior center
driveway
van.
or, yep. So it's sand that we'll deliver, it's free of charge, it'll help keep your footing in cold weather. It's just a matter of making a phone call and we'll get it to you. Finally, I would also make note of simply that the Scituate Rotary Club will be conducting its annual, what we call Giving Tree campaign, which is basically a donational campaign. You'll maybe see around town multicolored trees, certainly probably at the Village Market, there's some at the Senior
We have them
Center,
at the
there's some,
Senior Center.
there'll be some at Shaw's Supermarket up on 3A. These are, the colors all denote a different dollar amount, but the bottom line is, the Scituate Rotary Club will be collecting on its annual Giving Tree campaign, $1, $5, $10, whatever you can give.
And
And
the funds collected go to?
funds collected go to,
We have been the recipient. I will say.
elderly in need, seniors, elderly in need, the local veterans community, the high school, Scituate High School scholarships that Rotary always sponsors, and children, disabled children in need,
And I've
such
put-
as Course or Cardinal Cushing
right.
or groups like that.
So a broad spectrum, but really,
Right.
Rotary has been very good to the senior center and has made their donation every year, which has helped us to support some emergency requests we get during the year, as well as some of our programs.
Right, so we try to keep all the money in the community. If you see a tree posted someplace, you probably are at a location that you can buy one. You can certainly buy one down at the Council on Aging. Again, it's whatever you're able to donate, if you will. It's $1 for a green tree, so that's not much. And it all goes to a good cause locally in the community, so.
Absolutely, thank you.
So we're starting, and as a matter of fact, the High School Interact Club has already started, so they've already started here in the school,
Great.
so.
And they are the young Rotarians, as we
Correct.
call them, right? Great.
So that's all I've got for an update
Okay, thank you.
for today.
Thank you, that's mine as well. So we appreciate your watching, and again, let us know if there's anything else you'd like us to talk about.
And we'll see you next
Yes, we
time.
can invite, and we'll see you next time.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.